Hi, YouTube family. This is Ebony, and I am back with a fresh word from the Lord. Before I get into this message, you guys, I just want to say it is good to be back. I know it's been a whole week since I posted. It's been a very, very busy week. It took me a whole week to get this word out. Okay, that's how busy it was for me. Okay, there was a lot of busyness. Okay, a lot of distractions too. That I had to fight through. Okay, just to make sure that I got this word out, okay? It took me a whole week, y'all, all right? And so it's just good to be back, you all. This message that I'll be coming from today is for those who have been standing and wait for their kingdom marriages, okay? Many of you have been waiting for a very long time for God to bring the manifestation, of your marriage to you all, okay? And so that is who I'm talking to today. Many of you may be in a place where you're weary, okay? Weary hearted, all right? I just want to encourage you all, to do not be weary in doing well, okay? That what you're doing in regards to standing for your kingdom spouses, I mean, you're doing more than okay? But in this season, there won't be very much movement. So many of you may even be experiencing that too, where God was at one point giving you guys information in regards to where your kingdom spouses stood in their journeys with Him. And now things are seeming to like kind of dry up a little bit, okay? And so that is to, not be worried, okay? Because a lot of times, when God is not speaking, that's when He's doing the most work, okay? And so in this season, the ball is in the court of your kingdom spouses, okay? Now they have to make the choices to do what is necessary to align to the will of God, okay? And what He has promised for both of y'all, okay? And so be encouraged, you guys. Again, this is an exciting word for those who have been waiting. And so this video, I will give you guys pointers on what you can expect, what to do while you're in, waiting still. And to also um give you guys a little bit of what, my experience was like, okay, and still is like, as I'm in my singleness, okay? And what you all can also do, while you're in your singleness. All of that will be explained in this message, okay? All right. So I do not have to pray over this word because I did it before pressing the record button, you guys. So I am about to jump straight into it, okay? This first half of this word is coming from the book of Ruth, chapter 4. And then the second half of this will be put out before the end of the week. I said I was going to stop putting a time frame on when I'm gonna post videos because my days they shift sometimes. And so the time that I intend to put a video up, it don't happen, okay? And so I don't want to do that. I want to be, deliver on everything that I say, okay? When it comes to me saying, oh, I'm going to post on this day, okay? And so I'm not giving you guys a timestamp, but I will give you a little something and let you know that I'll have it up before the week is out, all right? And so that's for the second half of it, okay? And one more thing, or two more other things. If you guys can tell, I'm coarse and I'm very, very in and out, as far as my voice is concerned. So bear with me with that. And I think it's because I sleep with the fan all year round, okay? I sleep with the fan when I don't need a fan, okay? But I don't like waking up, sweating and stuff, because I do. I wake up sometimes and it's weird, y'all, because I sit there, I have cover on while the fan is going, okay? You would think that you turn on the fan because you're hot, but that ain't the case with me. I could be perfectly fine and I'll put on cover. I put on cover in the summertime, okay? I put the cover on in the summertime, but I do this, and a lot of times I wake up in a sweat. But I think, I just like the idea of having a cold room, okay? And so I think that's why my voice is gone. All right. All right. And so just bear with me, okay? All right. And so for those who are also inclined to my videos, just take this word to God first, okay? Don't receive it as your own yet. There's nothing wrong with desiring marriage, but you want to make sure that you're in the season forward, okay? Because God may have you doing something totally different, okay? And he may have something else lined up for you, okay? And it may not be marriage in this season, okay? So just take this word back to him, okay? All right. And so we getting straight into the word. New King James Version is what I'm coming out of, you guys. And then for those who are not reading along with me, just listen, tune up your spiritual ears, and allow God to speak to you as he will, all right? Because faith does come by hearing, all right? Okay. All right. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, "Come aside, friend, sit down here." So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." So they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. And I thought to inform you, saying, Buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. And the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was a confirmation in Israel. Therefore, the close relative said to Boaz, Buy it for yourself. So he took off his sandal, and Boaz said to the elders and all the people, You are witnesses this day that I have brought all that was Elimelech's, I cannot say that word, and all that was in Chilion's, Mahlon's, from the hands of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren, and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day. And that is the end of verse 10. Okay? Because that's where we're stopping. All right. And so there are some things that I do want to highlight, you guys. And the first thing is, okay, Boaz saw the near kinsman redeemer that was closer to Naomi than Boaz was, okay? And so Boaz saw this kinsman redeemer and, felt like it was important for him to, inform this kinsman redeemer about what was at stake, okay, concerning Naomi, okay, and Ruth, all right? And so this gate that they, were at was normally a gate where all negotiations was happening, okay? It's where people would work out different issues that was going on, okay, within the city, okay? And so this is what many of your kingdom spouses are going through right now, okay? And this is why it's very little movement, very little being said, okay? Because now the ball is in their court, okay? It's up to them to make the necessary changes and the moves that they need to make in order to be with you, okay? And so this is why no matter how much we are longing, no matter how much you may be just wanting, your spouse, you have to stand still and wait, okay? Because they have to set things straight, okay, in their lives before they can even move forward with you, okay? And so you have to give them the ability to do that, all right? And so they're doing things in order, all right? And so this is what Boaz was doing, okay? He knows that there was somebody else closer to him that could redeem Ruth, okay? But he thought it was, only right, to tell this kinsman redeemer first before claiming Ruth, okay? And Naomi, okay? But it was mainly Ruth that he's claiming, okay? But Naomi is also in that too, okay? And so this is what he was doing. He wasn't in a rush, and he could have easily said, you know what? You know, I ain't got to let the kinsman redeemer know nothing. I could just go ahead and, grab, and claim Ruth for myself. But he didn't do that, okay? And so, just like Boaz, this is how you must be, okay? Just wait, okay? When it's time, and God's perfect time, he is going to bring that thing around, okay? Round, all right? And bring it to you, and it'll be right there before you know it, okay? So that is my encouragement to those who, again, who are, eager, to be, together with your spouse, okay? And in this season, it's nothing wrong with you going to God and just being real with him, okay? Telling him, like, look, this is what I'm desiring, this is what I want. When, Lord, when can you, bring this, bring this my way? And of course, God is never going to give us something too soon, okay? But what you can do is be real with God and let him know what you're feeling so that he can fix it, okay? Give you the patience to wait, okay? All right? Because trust me, it's been so many times just in my walk period where I'm feeling some type of way, and I've learned not to suppress what I'm feeling, but to give it to God, okay? And I come to him as raw as I possibly can because I have to give it to him the way I feel it, okay? And a lot of times that's what you have to do, God is not going to condemn people for coming to him, how they feeling, okay? Now, of course, you have to, watch your words, filter your words, you can't be sitting there cussing them, you can't do that, okay? But you do have to, it's nothing wrong with you keeping it honest and being honest with him, okay? All right. So this is also a season where your kingdom spouses will be moved to seek you. Okay. Move to seek God on your behalf. Okay. And so this is another thing that why you cannot move. Okay. You got to make sure that the man that God gives you, that his heart is aligned with God's. Okay. You want a man who has a heart of God. Okay. You don't know how many times, y'all, how I've been in real life situations where the Lord has shown me, okay, in real life, all right, shown me why it's important that I wait for the man that he has for me, okay? And trust me, you want a man whose heart is aligned with God's, okay? Because that means this man will love you, or this wife will love you as God loves you, meaning he will love you and she will love you properly, okay? And so you just want to wait, y'all. Okay? And then he'll give you glimpse of why. Why you want to wait. Okay? Until God works on these individuals. Okay? And trust me, the hard stuff, is really done. Okay? I ain't gonna, okay, you know what? Let me take that back. Okay? Not all the hard stuff is done, but the things that were in the way, I'll say that the barriers that were in the way that kept, things from really happening, God has handled that, but there's still loose ends, okay, that God has to fix, okay? And then not only that, something else I want to mention too is that if you move too soon, you know, you never know. And this is why you don't have all the answers in regards to what is going on in your kingdom spouse's lives, okay? Because you don't know what they're struggling with, okay? The things that they have to do to um um have you, has a lot to do with sacrifice, okay? And just think of something that you love. Think about something that you like to do. And then God tells you, okay, you got to let it go if you want this or what I have for you, okay? I've been in that position. If I can be honest, y'all, and I've said it already through I don't know how many videos, but I used to be a smoker, okay? I was a time where I, always smoked, cigarettes. Those were, if I can be real, and I'm not being funny, but those were my best friend, okay? Those cigarettes, all right? And I also had my times where I smoked weed too, okay? But cigarettes was my go-to, okay? And so I didn't want to let them go. Even though I knew that they were not good for me, I was just so used to them, y'all, that I enjoyed doing it, but again, when God told me that I had to choose or I would, perish, because so many years have gone by after he, tried to tell me to let them go. And I kept saying, well, okay, God, I get to it when I get to it, pretty much. Just dragging my feet because I didn't want to let them go. Okay. But it was hard, y'all. When I tell y'all it was hard, it was times that I cried because I'm like, Lord, help me. Because a part of me wanted to go back after I gave them up to him. Okay. And so these are kind of like moves that they're going through. Okay. Where they have to be willing to sacrifice some things to make room for you. Okay. And we as people should always give people, time and space and grace, okay, to do what's necessary. Okay. So let God keep working in these individuals. Okay. Again, we have to, be trusting God's timing. Okay. And that's why in this season you don't want to, lean on your own striving, your own self. Okay. Because personally, we mess things up when we go ahead of God. We all do. Okay. And so just, wait on God. All right. To say, you know what? Okay, it's time. Because he will surely make sure that you know that it's time. Okay. Going down to verse 3 through 4. Then he said to the close relative Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. And he said, I will redeem it. Okay. All right. Something else I want to highlight in these two verses, okay, is that what Boaz did was he presented what was appealing first, okay, to this kinsman redeemer. And the reason why he did that first, by showing him, okay, there's land. Okay. He didn't even get to the second part of it, which I will, allow y'all to know once I get to this other verse. Okay. Moving forward. But I want to stay here for just a quick second, verses 3 and 4. But he presented what was appealing to this kinsman redeemer because he wanted to see. He wanted to see the heart, reveal the heart of this kinsman redeemer. He wanted to see, okay, is this person really in it, to not just, have the land, but to also take the responsibility, that comes with it. Okay. And so he presented what was appealing. All right. And so you know how we are as humans, okay? We sit there and we come across a good opportunity. Some people will come across an opportunity where there's money, okay? Some people will come across opportunities that again gives them opportunities that they never had before. But what people fail to understand is they have to count the cost. Okay, what is it going to cost me if I say yes to this? Okay, but he didn't do this. This kinsman redeemer, what he did was he said, I'll claim it. Okay, because he figured he already had an inheritance, you all. So he's looking and thinking about expansion in his mind. Okay, oh, this would just be an expansion to what I already have. Okay, and so that's why he said, you know what? I claim it. All right, this was a trap. All right. And this was just showing the heart of this kinsman redeemer. He just seeing where he could benefit. All right. And so Boaz also showed his heart. Okay. He showed his heart. He really was in it, not to just again benefit, but to also bear the responsibility that came with it. Okay. Taking this land and buying it back. Okay. And so I'm about to get into what it cost. Okay. As I go into this next verse, but he revealed his heart as well. Like, if you don't redeem it, then I'll redeem it. Okay. He was letting the man know, like, if you don't take it, I'm here. Okay. But what he has done is, again, he's given another person a chance to redeem, because he rightfully had, the right to decide if he wanted to take this land or not. Okay, the kinsman redeemer had this choice, and Boaz was kind enough to say, okay, well, since this man is closer, let me just go ahead and tell him about what is at stake so that he has the opportunity to decide. Okay, it's the same thing with these kingdom spouses, y'all, and why you don't want to keep, go ahead of God. You got to give people a chance to choose, okay, to choose you, okay, because some people be so, again, they so desperate, okay, to have somebody of their own that they go ahead because they feel like God is taking too long. All right, you got to give a person an opportunity to choose you. All right, and so this is another reason why you want to stand still. Let God work on the hearts of these people, okay, so that they can be aligned fully to what God is calling them into, okay? Going down to verse 5. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. All right, so now, here it is, all right? Boaz was like, okay, you said you redeemed this land, so let me give you a set of responsibilities that come along with this, okay? And so he gave this kinsman redeemer the responsibilities of, taking and buying back this land. And so, it was all strategic, okay? It was a strategic plan to claim Ruth, okay? But he did it, and some people would say, well, why did he have to, bring what was appealing first? And just come out and say everything all at once, okay? Meaning that, why couldn't he just say everything at once, and that way he could have decided, okay? But see, a lot of times you have to do that. You have to test the spirits with people, okay? And so this is what he was doing to see the heart, that he had, okay, when he chose to redeem this, okay? And it was revealed when he redeemed it without counting the cost, because the moment Boaz gave him, the set of responsibilities in verse 6, where it speaks of, and the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself. So before he could even count the cost as kinsman redeemer, he just automatically said, okay, I redeem it. Okay. And so there was a reason why, Boaz did it the way that he did, because again, it revealed the heart of this man, this kinsman redeemer. He didn't want it. He just was so worked up about what he could benefit from, this, thing. And that was that land, that, the cost of it, he was okay. And see, that's where many people go wrong. They want the blessings of God, but they don't want the cost that it comes with. Okay, you gotta be willing to be all in. Okay, trust me, the key, and I've said this to so many people, the key to really being able to conquer and overcome the things that come against you is to cling to God. Okay, hold on to his unchanging hand. This is the key to overcoming life's issues. This is the key to overcoming those things that are, again, built to make you give up. Okay, hang on to God in regards to, walking this thing out with him. Okay, don't be doing this stuff in your own strength. Don't be doing it alone. Okay, this is how you get defeated, because you're not drawing from the strength of God. You're drawing from your own striving. Okay, and God doesn't want us striving. He wants us to be fully trusted in him. Okay, and understanding that he knows best for our lives. Okay, and so he didn't want the cost, y'all. So he said, you know what? Go ahead and redeem it for yourself, because I can't. He thought that what he had, his inheritance, was better than what God had to give him. Okay? People make a mistake of believing that, some people could be already in marriages. They may even been able to birth and build things within these marriages that God has not ordained. But if God was to tell you today, give it all up for my destiny and my will for your life, many people would not do it, because they think about what they invested. They think about, oh, well, all the hard work I put into it, all this, all that, and they don't give their lives to God to come into alignment with God's will for them. Okay. I'm sorry, personally with me, I want my whole entire life to be under the will of God, because it's what you do for Christ that lasts. It's what you do for Christ that brings fruitfulness and multiplication. Okay, I just want the fullness of everything that God has for me. And so if that means that I have to let go of something that I spent years and years investing in, okay, let's do it, God, because anything that God gives us, I'm telling you, is a million times better than you can ever do for yourself. Okay? Then you can, and then he even gives us glimpse of what to expect and what's to come. Okay? He ain't leaving you blindsided about where he's taking you. That's the purpose. You gotta have the vision to have faith. Okay? To walk in it. All right? And so be careful, you guys. Those who are sitting there saying, I don't want my kingdom spouse. I've been there. Okay? I've been there. All right? Where I said, you know what? I don't want them back. You know, whoever got them can have them. Okay? And I meant it with all of my heart. Okay? And with all the love in my heart for that person. Okay? But I was just done. All right? The Lord had to come to me one time and say, you know what? I said, because before he came to me, let me say this, because I was just reasoning in my heart about, someone. Okay. And I'm like, Lord, please tell me, why is it worth fighting for? Okay. And the Lord just came to me and said, you'll regret it. Okay. That's all he had to say. Okay. Because he knows. All right. He knows what's on the other side of, my aggravation, frustration, irritation, and he knows, and so all I have to do was say, well, okay, Lord, since you said that, then you help me get rid of this unforgiveness. Help me to get rid of the bitterness that I have. Okay. To help me receive this and to receive it with gratitude and joy. Okay. And so now I pray and I keep praying, okay, for that person, okay, for that person. And I do it in such a way, I do it in love, okay. The best thing you can do for anybody when you're praying for them is to pray for them. That is you loving them, okay. Your prayers have weight, y'all, okay. It literally changes the direction of people's lives. Okay, when you continue to keep standing for people. I'm not just talking about standing for your spouses. I'm talking about your family, your children, everybody. It changes the trajectory, the direction of their lives. Okay. And so again, what the enemy likes to do, he likes to sit there and use people to make you angry, to do things to you, to betray you, to make you not pray for them as you ought to. Okay. And so if he can do that, then he still has somewhat of a hold on these people. Okay. And so you want to see people free. Okay. You don't want to see nobody being a statistic of Satan. Okay. Trust me. And I've seen that in real time with just people in my family. Okay. That the enemy has used to a degree I never thought that Satan could use a person. But when we submit to all these things that's going on in the world, our decisions is what shapes our lives, y'all. Our thinking is what shapes our lives, okay? And so you have to be really, really careful and really wise, using the wisdom of God when you're making decisions, okay? Because your decisions can cost you. Just like I was just telling y'all, when I was sitting there reasoning with God, tell me why I should fight for this. And he also said deception too. That person that I was so aggravated with, he was telling me that this person was under deception. And so I started reading up on deception, okay? And I said, oh, okay. It helped me to understand where they were, okay? And it made me feel sorry for them in a sense too, okay? Because deception will have you marrying the wrong person so that the enemy can, fulfill his agenda in these people's lives, okay? We have to keep in mind that the enemy's plan is to kill, steal, and destroy. So if he can get you to be deceived, that is what he's going to do. And have you walking in some kind of illusion that ain't of God. God never said it. God never told you to do it, but you're walking in deception and you're being deceived the whole time because all the while the enemy has some kind of trick under his sleeve to destroy you, to ruin you. And he does it through people. Okay? People that come into your life don't come by accident. The enemy has an agenda, but the Lord has a plan. Okay? And what the enemy means for evil, God turns it around. Okay? For people's good. Okay? And so y'all have to be careful. All right? Of the decisions y'all making, especially when you have these mindsets and this bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart about, I don't want them back. They can have them. Because I had the same attitude, and the Lord shifted my thinking the moment I told God, why should I keep fighting for this man? Because I was about ready to stop praying. Okay? But see, I also learned my lesson with that too. Okay? When you pray for people and you take your mouth off of them, the Lord honors what you do. Okay? When it comes to prayer. So you stop praying, then the enemy gets a hold of them. Okay? And ruin them. And a lot of times he destroys them, where destruction is, their fate. Hell. Okay? I got stories for days, y'all. All right? I give you one. Okay? Just for the sake of time. All right? It was a certain person that, I cared a lot about. Okay? We were very cool friends, stayed friends for quite some time. Okay? And that person did something that really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And I stopped praying. Okay? I said, you know what? Forget them. Forget them. Okay? That's what I said. Okay? And I kid you not, you guys, a year later, that person ended up dying. They ended up dying. And when I say I felt so bad, I blamed myself, because I said, maybe had I stopped, kept praying for them, maybe the direction of their lives would have been different. And I truly believe that. But the Lord had to come to me with that and say, no, but it was still their choice. Okay? Their choice is why they're not here today. Okay? And that kind of released me from carrying this guilt and this heaviness. Okay? Because I took my mouth off this person. Now this person is dead and gone. Okay? And so, y'all, whatever unforgiveness and bitterness you have in your heart for your kingdom spouse, give it to Jesus and let him fix it. And keep praying and standing for these people that he has ordained for you. Okay? Because the truth of the matter is, the kingdom spouse that he is blessing you with is your inheritance. Okay? And you can't afford to forfeit that. Okay? You can't afford that. So let God deal with your hearts. Okay? In this season, we also have to, make sure that we are, blameless before him too. Okay? Making sure that it's nothing that could possibly create a barrier between you and what God is promising you. Okay? Take all of that to God. All right? In prayer, Lord, what is it that I need to lay aside? Is there any weights in my life that would hold me down, hold me back from receiving everything that you have for me? Okay? Just simple prayers like that. And keep coming at him until he makes it clear and plain to you. Okay? Because he will in his time. Okay? Everything is done in God's timing. And though we feel like what is too long, when it comes to God, God is not looking at it that way, because he's in eternity and steps into time. So it's a scripture that speaks of, that one day is like 1,000 years to God. Okay? Just one day. Okay? And so again, what we think is too long is nothing compared to God. Okay? All right? And God doesn't see it that way. All right? So we just should trust God. Okay? And so this decision of him rejecting Ruth was something he should have never did. Okay? He forfeited his inheritance. Okay? What he had was done in, the kingdom, kinsman redeemer. What the inheritance that he had was somehow, it could have been, I'll say it this way. It wasn't better than God. Okay? And what God had for him, had he accepted it. Okay? And that's how I'll just say it. Okay? But a lot of times people sit there and they do all this striving and they say all this stuff that I build. I'll never forget, and I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, where I watched the interview of Will Smith. where he was talking about he had reached the bottom of the barrel. He had bought everything that he could ever buy for himself. And once he, he even reached the barrel of fame. And he said, I still was empty. Still was empty. Okay. And I felt like that was so powerful because, again, you guys, we sit there and we do all this striving, we build this whatever we build for our lives, and we think that that's something compared to what God has. We make a huge mistake of believing that. And so this is what this kinsman redeemer did. Oh, what I got is way more better. So yeah, you go ahead and take it. I mean, and this is why his name was never in this book, okay? In the Holy Bible, okay? This is why. Because he sat there and he forfeited what God had for him. And so let's go down to wait. Okay. Verses 7 through 9. I'm sorry for the long pause, you guys. I had to make sure that I was right where I needed to be. Okay, so verses 7 through 9. Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging to confirm anything. One man took off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was a confirmation in Israel. Therefore, the close relative said to Boaz, "Buy it for yourself." So he took off his sandal. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi." Okay. And so something else that I want to bring up too is that everything was done in front of witnesses. So what you all need to know in regards to a kingdom marriage, it's not just, known to your family and friends, but it's also known. A kingdom marriage is known in heaven because it's in alignment of God's will and his timing. Okay. And so it's built from the spirit. A kingdom marriage is a marriage that God has ordained and brought two people together. Okay. This is what this is all about. And so there has to be witnesses. Okay. No love is private. Okay. If you're in love with someone and God has put somebody in your life and y'all brought two people together, there will be witnesses. Okay. There has to be. Okay. Witnesses that witness God's favor, God's blessing on your marriage. Okay. And so you can expect this. Okay. Expect this. And it's so much bigger than how I'm explaining it, y'all. But I'm just giving y'all what the Lord gave me. All right. And in due time, God, if he haven't already gave you a glimpse of what to expect. Okay. All right. And so again, don't be weary, y'all. Don't be weary in the waiting, okay? Because when it comes around full circle, it'll be so much worth it, okay? And not only that, there's a testimony that comes with that, okay? It's a testimony that comes with the coming together of your kingdom spouse, especially those who know who your kingdom spouse is. Some of you may have even dealt with them even in the past. Okay. And things just didn't seem to work out. Okay. It could have been an on and off type of thing. Okay. I'm talking to y'all. Y'all will have a testimony. And I'm not just saying that the people who ain't, who do know or don't know who their kingdom spouse is, that your testimonies won't be great. There will be. Okay. Because God has orchestrated it. Okay. But all of our testimonies will have some kind of weight to encourage, to uplift, and to bring people in who may be going, through the same thing, to help them get in line with God's will. Trust me, everything that God does is not a waste, y'all. Every little tiny detail, everything that we go through, God does not waste, okay? He does not waste it. And so that is going to be a testimony when he brings this thing full circle, y'all. Especially when you wait. Okay? Trust me, y'all. Look, I am so content, okay, with waiting, because I don't want to marry wrong. All right? I want my marriage to be my last. Okay? If I can be real, I want it to be. All right? And so I don't care how long I have to wait to make sure that I have everything that I desire from God. And I'm trusting God for it all. Okay? I'm not doing nothing in my strength because I know that anything that I do is nothing compared to what God can do. Okay? So many times I've chosen the wrong people. Okay? You know, going for what I like instead of what I needed. Okay? I ain't doing that no more. Okay? I am truly waiting on the Lord. Okay? All right? So, you guys, stay in position, stand still. Okay? So, not only that, I want to bring up the fact that this kinsman redeemer, he didn't want the cost. He wanted what he could benefit. Okay? And so, it was confirmed by witnesses that Boaz brought land off of Naomi. Boaz took his sandal off, and it was known to all that both the land and Ruth was his. The taking off the sandal sealed agreements, okay, in Israel. So, okay, since he, rejected, Ruth, Boaz knew, okay, I got it. She's mine. Okay. So another thing that I want to keep you guys aware of is that when God brings these marriages, okay, to you, okay, and he brings y'all together, you ain't gonna even have enough time to do courting. Okay, that's how quickly things are going to start happening. Okay, and it's gonna be a suddenly thing. Okay, a thing that just, again, things just happening. You can't even, I don't even know how to explain it, y'all. You can't even explain it. Okay, it's just there, wham. Okay, because you waited, and then not only that, things are going to start going, and you ain't gonna be able to stop it. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. Be still. Be still, y'all. Okay? Man, oh man. I'm so excited for y'all. Okay, so let me see. All right. Sometimes the person that rejects you is for your good, and it's because God has something better. Okay? So I'm talking to you all who have been rejected by somebody. Okay? Some of you may be in a position right now where you know who your kingdom spouse is because God has told you who they are. Okay? But it was wrong timing for the both of y'all. Okay? And so when y'all got together, it was wrong timing. Y'all was into stuff y'all ain't had no business. And so God said, you know what? You got to break it off. Or he allowed something to happen that made you break it off. Okay? All right? It could go, either way. They rejected you, or you had to make the sound decision yourself to break things off. Okay? And so do not be discouraged over this, okay? You will have them back again if it's God's will, okay? But only you know if they'll come back around. And even for those who know that whoever rejected you wasn't for you in the first place, then you can rest assured that whatever God has for you, it is better than that person, okay? All right? That rejected you, okay? And so again, don't be afraid to let things go that God tells you to let go. Trust me, he is never going to tell you to let go of something and there's not nothing on the other side of your obedience, okay? Trust me, okay? And he will make sure and confirm to you, like, okay, this is what I have for you. If you stay in alignment, I got this for you. And it's going to come to you, all right? God cannot lie about what he's doing in your life. He has to fulfill every word that he speaks over your life. Okay? And so ask God, even if you're struggling with, just being anchored in faith, because I can, give you a testimony about that. Okay? There was a time, I'm a Christian. Okay? And I'll say it was like part in the beginning or even the middle part of my walk, because I've been saved ever since I was what? I can't even remember my age. Lord. I'll say 2015. That's where I know, that's when the year I was saved. Okay? 2015, April 19th, I believe. Or May 19th. Lord, I don't even remember. It's been so long though. I've been saved for a very long time, but it took me a while to get to where I am today, okay? And so my testimony was, there was a point in time within my walk, I didn't even have a mustard seed of faith. And you know what a mustard seed of faith is. a tiny little mustard. I didn't have that. Okay. And the reason why I didn't have that was because I come from a place of brokenness. Okay. And so when you so used to living a defeated life, a life that where you just always getting the bitter end of something. Okay. That was me. And so you gotta know if that was the kind of life that I was living, that my perspective and the way I thought was jacked up too. Okay. Cause it was. All right. I always thought the worst of things. And even, I had, troubles believing what God was saying about me. And we have to be careful, y'all. If we don't believe what God says, I'm telling you, it will shape our lives because, again, the enemy, he does a lot of whispering and a lot of talking too. And he knows how to whisper to those weak and insecure places within you. Okay. And have you believing that you are what he say you are. Okay. And so that's what I did. I was believing in what Satan was saying about me instead of what God was saying. And this is what shaped my life. But then I got so sick and tired of feeling defeated and being defeated that I said, you know what, Lord, I got to get up out of this. I have to start believing what you say about me. And though it took time for me to get up out of that place, trust me, I got up out of it, because sometimes you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. You got to be sick and tired of being in a place that, again, you're not, growing. You're not, being fruitful. Nothing has really happened. Everything is dry, and you want something more. You want something better. I was thirsty, y'all. Thirsty for something better. Thirsty for something more than the life that I was living, which was a defeated life at one point in my Christian walk with him. I had to get tired of being there. And when I came out of that, y'all, I'm telling you, I can't even explain what God did in me, because I submitted to the process that he had me on. Okay. I mean, I'm telling you, I have not been the same. All right. Now I'm walking in my identity. Okay. Because I chose to believe what God said about me. Now I'm walking in spiritual authority. I'm telling what everything that ain't right or in alignment in my life, I'm telling it what to do. Okay. This is the kind of power that God gives us all. But until you know who you are in Christ, I'm telling you, you won't walk in that. Okay. And you gotta know. Go into the word of God and start looking up scriptures. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay. Don't let the enemy tell you, oh, you just an insecure, you're weak, you'll never get this far, you'll never get there, you'll never get this way, you'll never get that car, you'll never get that house, oh, you'll never get out of school, you'll never get that diploma, that GED, whatever it is that he's whispering in your ear. Close your ear off to the enemy. All right. So let's go back to this, y'all. Let me see. Sometimes the person that I said that. All right. So there has to be a season where God weaves out all the counterfeits in your life to reveal the one God has for you. So a lot of times God has to shake stuff out of your life. Okay. And so for many, it will look like, a lot of hardship. Okay. It'll look crazy. Okay. It'll look like everything is tearing apart. Okay. This is what God has to do, because a lot of times we sit there through our own decisions. We're picking the wrong people to be our friends. We're picking the wrong people to sleep around with because we want to be outside of the will of God. Come on. We are humans and we do stuff like this, okay? We sit there and pick our own people that we're going to lay with and instead of just doing things God's way, okay? And so what we do, we create a mess over time in our lives. And so God has to come and weave all that stuff out. Everything that is not like him. Everything that is contrary to the system that he has created for all humanity. Okay, he start wiping that stuff off. And so he'll start with your friends. If you got people in your life that will slow you down, keep you from getting, to the things of God, or keep you from going where God is taking you, trust and believe he's going to cause some things to shake. He's going to cause some people to turn over so that you see the true nature of who they are. Okay, he's going to do some things, and then little by little you'll start recognizing, dang, Lord, let me give y'all a testimony of what I'm saying. Okay, there was a time, and this was when the Lord was first he was starting to deal with me. Okay. I think this was long before I was saved. Okay. But it was, a thing where he started, dealing with people in my life, people who just didn't mean me no good, people who was just full of drama. I'm telling you, I stayed in drama. I stayed in fights, and I spoke about that in my testimony too. Just all that he said, she said, oh, well, she said this, instead of just coming to me and let me tell you the truth. I mean, it was just so much stuff, y'all, that I was going through. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Lord, you want me to get rid of them? And then I start saying to myself, who am I without them? When I heard myself say that, I said I knew I needed to let them go, because the Lord was showing me that my identity was not in him. It was in the people that I hung around. Because let me tell y'all, I was such a busybody, all right? I never stayed home, okay? Every single day I had somewhere to spend a night. I didn't never really have to come home, okay? That's how many friends I had. And now, as a age, woman, and I'm not old, but I'm in my mid-30s, okay? I now realize that having too many friends is just not wise, okay? But I thought that made me have some kind of importance, okay? It made me feel more, popular, okay? If I can say that, because I had all these people around me that, were my friend, but really wasn't my friend, okay? If I can just say that, all right? So I'm just saying, like, when I heard myself say that who am I without them? I knew I had to let them go, okay? And so even in that process, it didn't feel good, because it's like, dang, I'm going to be all by myself. I'm saying this to myself, I'm going to be all by myself, But then I began to start walking with Christ, and he began to start showing me how to love me. He started showing me how to be happy with just me. He showed me what self-acceptance is like, meaning I chose to accept everything about me, everything that was wrong, everything that was flawed, all of that stuff, okay, including the good things about me. I accepted it all. And I got to a place in my walk with Christ that when I tell y'all, I got free of, what people think about me, okay, how they think about me, it just, all of that wiped away. All right. So I began to start walking in this freedom where I'm telling you, I can care less what people think about me. Okay. And I'm not saying it to be ignorant, okay? But you gotta have this kind of mentality when you walking with Christ, because trust me, we are already walking targets when we speak the word of God and we walk in his truth, okay? People start disliking us because the demons in them don't like truth. They don't like light, okay? And so you got to get to a place in your walk that the opinions of people rub off you like oil, okay? Because people are going to put you in a hell, if you let them, all right? And so you got to first know who you are and walk in it fully and know, you know what? Well, whatever, that's how they feel, okay? But I also came to a place in my own life where I realized I ain't for everybody. So I know who I can go around. I know who to stay away from, okay? And that's just, again, part of the gift that I have, okay? And so, y'all, I don't know where I was going with this, okay? Because this ain't in my notes at all. But I'm going to just let the spirit flow. Whoever it's for, somebody going to get blessed by it, okay? So let me go back. Presented what I was feeling. Okay. And so I just want to go back to what this kinsman redeemer rejected, okay? And so just, say for instance, I'll just, do a little scenario here, okay? God has the idea of putting two people together, okay, similar to what you all are getting ready to do. And I spoke a little bit about, those who feel like, they want to reject, what God has given them. So what happens is, just say for instance, God forbid, okay, that you rejected this person, okay? I'll say the husband rejected the wife that God had for him, okay? What happens is that you are rejecting favor. When you come together with the one that God has ordained, favor is on them, okay? Things begin to unlock, unleash, and overflow when you get with the one that God has ordained for you. So this is what the kinsman redeemer did. He just pretty much forfeit his favor, okay? He could have had more than what he had, okay? Is what I'm saying. So that's why I say, y'all, deal with the bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart towards these spouses, okay? All right? And just anyone in your life that might have done you wrong. It don't even have to be them. But you want to make sure that you have a pure heart and you're blameless before him. Okay? blameless. Okay. And so, this is what came with the benefits that came with Ruth. Had this kinsman redeemer accepted, he would have been under the favor of God and blessings. Okay. All right. So one of the benefits of Ruth was the lineage of legacy. Ruth carried the honor of being in direct line of David and Jesus. So she was grafted into the lineage of Jesus. Okay. That's number one. All right. Fruitfulness and increase, meaning they were able to birth children from this union. Now, this is huge within itself, okay? So, in your singleness, you hear people say it all the time that it's the best time for you to work on yourself. And the reason for that is an inner thing. You spiritually, you have to, prepare yourself for whatever God does for you, okay? And one of those things that is very important before you get married is breaking off generational curses before you get married, okay? Because what happens is when you bring two people together, and I'm talking about people who actually, make marriages for themselves. They sit there, they find somebody that they love, and because there's a mutual understanding between both of them, they get married without confronting these curses that's in their bloodlines, okay? And so they come together in marriage, and what happens is they have curses in the wife's bloodline, curses in the husband's, bloodline, and what happens is that they birth children out of this covenant marriage, okay, marriage that they created for themselves, and later on down the line, their kids are experiencing the same struggles, the same things that the parents had to go through, okay? And a lot of times these things come through, again, the ancestors of these two individuals, okay? And so it opens the door for, your children to be walking under curses and stuff, okay? Now, it's not to say that your children are doomed, okay? Because this is why Jesus came, okay? To set captives free, okay? So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but still, why not do it when you're single? Okay, why do we have to be so eager to get married just to say, oh, I got married? And some people get married and it ain't the person that God said you could marry. Okay, some people settle just for the sake of not being alone. Okay, when you can just hold on to God, He'll help you get through your singleness. Okay, He ain't never about to tell you to stay single. Stay single. Don't worry. You'll be all right. God he don't work like that, y'all. Okay? He ain't gonna never tell you something and not provide. Okay? If he says stay single for a while, he's going to give you the strength. He's going to give you the power to do it. Okay? And walk in it content and at peace. Okay? I am a witness. All right? And so, y'all, so that's what happens when you don't let God have your love life, okay? You're birthing children out of, again, that will end up walking in the same things that you walked in. I'll, use another example. For people who sit there and live in a family where there's a lot of divorce, okay? Or a family that, have broken homes, okay? Your birth, if I can be real, that's what I came from, okay? I came from a place of brokenness, okay? And so your children walk in this, okay? All right? And so God can turn it around, all right? He's doing it for me. He's doing it for me, y'all. Okay? He could turn around these things, but if you never confront these curses, then this is what your fate of your children is until they get of age and get saved. And you got to make sure that you're praying for your children to get saved, okay? So that they may notice these curses so that they can break them themselves, all right? And so to me, it's better to break the generational curses in your singleness. God will give you the blueprint on what to do. He'll tell you what you need to confront. He will tell you, all right, put down your plate today. Go ahead and fast. He will tell you, all right? And so, fruitfulness and increase came with Mary and Ruth. So they had free babies, okay? If I can say that. Babies who don't have to experience the curses that they had to go through, okay, may have had to go through suffering and all unnecessary suffering as that, okay, but it doesn't mean that your kids will be free of hardships, okay. They still have to go through things so that God can, bring them to wherever it is that he wants to bring them to, okay. But what I am saying is they don't have to suffer through the same mistakes and curses that you had to suffer, okay. All right. And so that's why it's good to confront these curses before you get married. Okay. Because these curses is real. All right. And a lot of times it's a lot of curses on your lives, when we are birthed, and we're birthed into this, and it ain't our fault. Okay. But a lot of times these curses come from our ancestors. Okay. Doing sin, having, sex out of wedlock. Okay. And creating generations to do the same thing, and we just birthed, it ain't the kids' fault, okay? But while you're still alive and God gives you the opportunity to confront these things, now is the best time before you get married, okay? Confront these curses. Ask God, what curses on my bloodline? Ask God, what curses in my, if there anything that's I'm under, help me to confront this right now, because I don't want anything that could be a barrier between me and my covenant, okay? Between my spouse, okay? And just leave it at that. Keep bringing it to him. Keep bringing the matter to him until he lets you know, okay? Because he will surely tell you. Okay. What also came with Ruth was God's covering and covenant blessing, meaning people could also see the blessing on her life, on their marriage. Okay, and that's another thing when God brings covenant marriages together. People can see the favor of God. People can see the blessing of God on the marriage. Okay, not just in heaven, but even people on earth. People can see His hand on it, y'all. All right, you want this. It's not just family. Anybody could see that two people are in love, but it's a whole nother thing when it's witnesses in heaven that can witness y'all union. Okay? All right? People who have married outside of God, their marriages is not witnessed in heaven. And this is why you want to make sure that every part of your life is surrender. Not to say that God does not bless the union, because he does. He blesses the union that, people who choose to marry on their own, he'll still bless it, but it's so much that comes with it before you're able to really enjoy the marriage. There's a lot of struggle. And on top of that, you feel the weight of every struggle that you go through. That's why many people, sometimes all you got is a cry. Okay? All you can do is cry because you don't have the explanation of what you're feeling and what you're going through. Okay? But when you're in the fullness of God in covenant marriage, he gives you the grace to overcome these things that are meant to bring you down. Okay? And you overcome these obstacles with no issue. Okay? There's a huge difference. And that's why I said, God says, if you wait on me, you'll have the fullness of everything that I've given you. And it's an overflow of blessings that comes from a covenant marriage that God has ordained, you guys. And that's why I say, surrender every part of your lives. It is so much worth it. And see, God is not really concerned about what people think about him. He just knows that he can bless your life if you allow him to, y'all. Okay? And so the process of blessing your lives, sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. But it is so much worth it. Trust me, I can tell y'all, in the beginning of my walk with Christ, I'm telling you, things were not the best at all. I mean, the Lord had stripped me of so much, okay, that I'm telling you, you had to be careful with the type of subjects we talked about. If it touched a string in my heart, okay, I would cry, okay. I mean, I was just so, I didn't have nothing left. I felt so empty, but that is where God wanted me to be, because it was through this place that I was able to be poured into, okay, with everything concerning God, okay, his ways, his truth, okay, his beliefs, okay, and I'm telling y'all, what he has done in me, y'all, is undescribable, okay. It is beautiful, Okay? And it's something that I would never step out of the will of God to lose. Okay? Nothing that he has done, I don't want to lose it. Okay? The way that I see things now, the way that I think, I mean, the confidence that I have, I mean, all of that came from the Lord. Okay? Doing a work in me. Okay? And it's because I submitted, I surrendered everything. Okay? And over the years, I mean, I didn't surrender everything at once. It took years for me to just lay down stuff. But I finally got to that place where I said, you know what, Lord, have it all. Okay? And many of y'all have to get to this. Okay? You have to. All right? I mean, every little thing, even the things you don't think that God is, recording. Okay? Because everything we do is being recorded. Okay? And so if there's some things you need to let go of, do it now. Okay? Do it now. If there's any idols, give it to God now, okay? Give it to him now, because you don't want anything interfering with what God is doing, okay? Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess. Oh, hold on, wait, y'all. Did I miss something? Okay, something else I want to go back because I missed. Okay. Another benefit that came with Ruth was also a legacy. Okay. Which means the legacy between her and Boaz was in history. Okay. Meaning long after they had died. Okay. They would always be remembered for what they have done. And not only that, okay. Not only that, their descendants after them eventually walked into this, same kind of blessing, okay? And so that's, God knows what he is doing, y'all, okay? He knows what he's doing, and he's birthing things out of covenant marriages, kingdom marriages, okay? Because how can I say it? He's trying to bless generations, okay? That's the best way that I can put it. It's so bigger than us, y'all, what he's trying to do, and that's why you want to be fully surrendered to the journey with him, okay? All right. And so I wanted to give y'all that because that was something that I forgot to put out there. And again, community blessed them. I mean, they were recognized and for just being obedient, all right, and having faith in the Lord to bring them together, and it brought recognition, okay, it brought admiration, okay, because they waited on God, all right. Y'all, it's a beautiful thing. It's one thing for me to read it. I'm not even reading it the way, again, that I feel like I should, okay? But it's a whole nother thing when you're walking in it and you know what it's like, okay? I can only imagine it, y'all. I could see it as I'm reading to y'all, and I'm telling y'all, what I'm telling y'all, okay? And so when you wait on God, you just don't know what you're doing for yourself and for generations to come, okay? Okay, now we go on to verse 10. All right. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife to perpetuate the name of the dead, may not be cut off from among his brethren. And from his position at the gate, you are witnesses this day. This was Boaz sealing his rights to Ruth, okay? And the responsibility of her. This means that your kingdom spouses are coming to seal covenant. The time is approaching, y'all. All right. And we must be in a posture of preparation. I mean, being not preparation, but we should be preparing now. Okay. But you want to be prepared when that time comes. Okay. To receive. So have a heart of expectation in this season, in this hour, because at any given time, they'll either be showing up at your door or showing up wherever you are, okay? And so you want to make sure that you're ready, okay? And so I leave that with you all today. Be ready, be in expectation. Make sure you're going before the Father and making sure that everything that is out of alignment, if there anything that's out of alignment, that you're giving it to God so that he may help you correct some things, okay? Because you don't want to miss this, all right? You don't want to miss your inheritance, okay? All right. And so I will see you guys on the second part before the end of this week. You guys be blessed.